Hello, my beautiful friends. I'm your host, Leah Rowling.
And I'm Carrie Kenzie. Welcome to Shift Happens. Discover the leader within. This podcast is designed to disrupt the way you live, lead, and love. At Shift, we challenge traditional narratives and believe that inner wisdom is the key to every decision.
Are you ready to explore a new paradigm of both living and leading? We'll dive deep into our innate strengths as women: compassion, curiosity, intuition, grace, vulnerability, and love. The shift, it's about to get real. Rediscover the power within and transform your life. Stay tuned. It all starts now.
Welcome to Shift Happens. We are so excited to have you with us today. I am Carrie Kenzie alongside Leah Rowling. And let me tell you what, friends, shift happens. And sometimes it comes in such unexpected ways and teaches the most amazing lessons. We're going to talk about resiliency in leadership. We're going to talk about when shift happens and how it is that we have the ability to navigate in the chaos and what it looks like as a resilient leader to continuously bring forward the best of you when you are literally feeling like the worst, when you're sweating, when the nerves are off the charts, when you're frantic and you cannot make what you need to happen. How do we continue in those moments? Leah and I had an incredible, I am going to say incredible, though we did not feel incredible experience last week. And if there's anything that we will consistently bring to you, it is the real, the vulnerable, and the authentic, because these are the conversations that we believe need to happen, that need to be brought forward, that aren't happening as it pertains to leadership. So, Leah, my love.
Yes, my friend.
Would you like to share what happened last week so we know kind of where we're beginning from?
Yeah. So we were bringing forward a workshop, and in particular, and you probably heard us even talk about it in a podcast, around how to build a high-performing team. And if you didn't understand or you weren't sure what was going to be the end result of that, the invitation was always to come back home to building the most resilient leader within yourself. And so we had an opportunity to have this webinar, this workshop, and one of my dear friends had promoted it for us. And there were lots of people that were signed up, and it was exciting and a little nerve-wracking, but exciting, because we had done webinars before. We had done workshops before. We do keynotes, we do trainings for hundreds of people, and we speak in front of thousands of people. So no problem. I had never really done it through the software that I did it through. And I didn't really practice with the software, but I had gone through all of the troubleshooting. I had gone through, I'd set it up with supervision, and really just felt very confident that this was going to be amazing and it was going to be awesome. And we had worked on the curriculum, and we had worked on the training and the flow and the sequencing and all of it. And it was workshop day. It was webinar day, evening actually. And we go to open it up, and it isn't the way that I'm used to. Wait, what? Like being blindsided as a leader? It wasn't what I had thought. Like, I didn't get to bring people in. They just came in. I couldn't promote Carrie on the other side to a panelist so that she could talk, so that she could show her face. I didn't even have the right button for it. We couldn't do chat. We couldn't, we had all of these ideas to ask questions and to be engaging, and nothing, like literally nothing worked. All of these people are witnessing Carrie and I trying to navigate how to even get her on, like, let alone like what the PowerPoint looked like. We'll get to that in a second. But just trying to bring her on as a co-presenter. No buttons, no ability. So Carrie, we live about a mile and a half apart, maybe not even. She jumps in her car, she drives, and I'm trying to fill time for what feels like hours.
Always, right?
Always. It might have taken her 2 minutes, maybe three. I don't know, but I'm trying to fill time. Now I can fill some time. Like I can tell stories. I can be conversational. I can inspire like, different levels of thinking. Nothing. Like I couldn't come up with, just give me a minute while we navigate this. Like I was fumbling my words. I was sweaty. I was all the things. Carrie then comes in. We're both together in frame, and the PowerPoint is going, but then it disappears completely. Can't even find it. It's not at the bottom of my screen. I'm trying to minimize Zoom. I'm trying to do all of it. Nothing is working. And I will tell you that as we were going through it, the whole time, I was like, every ounce of me, and I want you to try to put yourself in my position. Like, I'm not talking about a webinar or a workshop or something, but when you've put yourself all in a situation and it's not working, how many times do you just want to abort? How many
Yes.
times do you just want to just call it quits and walk out? Like walk out of your office, walk out of your practice, walk out of your business, just put yourself to bed and just quit on it all. Because I will tell you, that thought crossed my mind. Like, we had so many tech issues, no one would probably even question if I just hit end. What if I could just hit the end key? Like, can we just end this right now? End it. No one would know. Then we would have another opportunity to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm putting that in air quotes if you're listening. We would have the other opportunity to do it better, more perfect, in air quotes. And yet I did it. I did it. I did not end. We navigated through it, and then I'll let Carrie kind of share like how she brought me out of it at the very end, which was brilliant, and it's her story. And so at the very end, right? I didn't see anything good in it at all, actually. What every ounce of me wanted to do was, even for my bravery in keeping the webinar going and not hitting end, immediately I was like, it's okay. It's okay. What I'm going to do, right, in my head, this is what I'm going to do. And I don't even know if I shared this out loud to you, Carrie. Maybe I did. So it doesn't matter. This is not the webinar that we're sending out. I'm going to re-record it. I'm going to re-record the whole thing, and it's going to be perfect. This is what I'm saying out loud, I think, out into the space. I'm just going to re-record it. I'm just going to make it be perfect, right? That's what I'm going to do. And then I will let Carrie offer up her insights and her genius. And this is for everyone listening that has wanted to quit because it didn't go the way they had thought. Because in their mind, it should have looked better. In their mind, they should have been better. In their mind, if it was perfect, that would have been better. Okay, listen to her in what she has to say on this, because it will transform it. No, it will revolutionize the way that you show up in your life, the way that you lead your teams, the way that you love and live in your life. And it is incredibly powerful. So, Carrie.
Oh my gosh, how do you follow that? Well, let me say, what was really in observation, because as the co-host, I will say, and not the one who's behind the screen, not the one who's trying to figure out the PowerPoint, I was able to stay in a space that wasn't quite as frantic but I know, right? Being in you get so frantic, your mind literally shuts off. And you can't think, you can't function, you can't find what it is that you are looking for, and you literally just want to shut it all down, right?
And
You want to shut it all down. So we get to the end, and Leah shuts the computer. And I said, "How are you doing?" And she just was like, "No, no." She could see no brilliance, no beauty, like everybody just watched the worst thing in their entire lives, and like no information was I mean, everything to her in that moment was bleak, it was dark, there was no good, there was nothing that came out of this. And I said to her, I said, "Leah, honey, every single person who was on that webinar stayed on that webinar. Nobody left. If you didn't bring forward content, beauty, curriculum, takeaway, something that inspired them, they'd have shut it down. They'd have shut it down, right?" So we continue to talk, and she says, "You did say out loud, you're like, okay, well, part of me really feels like we need to re-record this. We cannot send this out. We need to re-record this." To which I said, "Well, at that point, then you will completely negate the entire training that you just did about resilient leadership. If you take away everything that you just did in the way that you showed up, in the way that you continued to navigate through, right? You continued to bring forward your beauty and your brilliance, and you record over that, what message does that send out to everybody else who has to navigate through things going wrong on the regular, by the way, because every single day there is something that pops up, right? What would you show them? That they'd have to rewrite all the time? No, what you do is you send out the message that says, that's a resilient leader. That's a resilient leader, because I continued to show up, right? It wasn't perfect. It was messy. I didn't check out. But what I am going to do is, on the back end of this, I'm going to sit in a moment, which we did. We sat for probably 20 minutes and just processed through. What was that about? What was the emotion, right? Because what you knew earlier in the day was that you didn't need the PowerPoint to begin with. You knew you didn't need it. We lean heavily on things outside of ourselves, too often, too much as leaders, by the way, to validate who we are, to bring additional value to who we are. And in those moments of tech not working, PowerPoint not showing up, what we will do is we will make that mean something about us. We will make that mean that I didn't bring anything to the table. We will make that mean that I'm not valuable enough. We will make that mean that I didn't show up. We will make that mean that I'm not a good leader. Well, what if everything you just navigated through brought forward to you who you are truly as a leader, and who it is that you can be and show up as when you put the messy out there? Because sometimes it's going to be messy, and it's okay. We just have to question what that is and get curious about it on the back end. Not just all right, how do we navigate this webinar we're going to do this again next week. Okay. How do we ensure that this doesn't happen again? Right. So we sat down for an hour, right? And we went through every single different scenario that could potentially possibly happen to ensure we're set up right. More than that, it's the energy that we bring into it the next time, because now we understand I navigated through that. And I also know that doesn't mean anything about who I am. That doesn't diminish my value at all. That is what a resilient leader is. And that's how we build teams, because every individual on there watching this, watching you as a leader stumble, watching you as a leader make a decision that maybe doesn't align the best with what it is that you want to happen in the future. When they see that and they don't see you take accountability for it by sending an email out that says, well, that was a hot mess. So I'm glad you were there for it, because man, did you get a lesson and a half. Not only did you get the brilliance that came forward from the PowerPoint, but you got to see a resilient leader in action. We couldn't have planned it better. And you can't plan it better for your teams. When they watch you go through that and they watch you put it out there, and then they watch you go, huh, how do we do that different next time? Yeah. What is it that I need to understand and know about myself, not just my prep work, but about myself, to be able to show up differently next time, or to navigate it differently next time? What do you say to that, Leah?
Oh, I mean, I hope that people listen and replay that. Like, replay that whole bit, because this is the work that we get to do in this space, coaching leaders and helping leaders lead teams. And all too often, we trip up over what we believe is perfect, what we believe should be better. And I'm not suggesting that our effort isn't in that, but that we don't become defeated when it isn't the way that we had thought. And so this whole idea of being curious and to really understand where you're placing your worth, and where there is room for opportunities to grow and to skill up and to rehearse and to make it better, but not from a place of shame and blame and avoiding the life, avoiding the experience, avoiding the situation, hitting end, right, on the Zoom, because that seems like the easiest thing to do to get out of discomfort, right? That seemed like the easiest decision for me to make. And again, you guys, no one would have known the difference. No one. Everybody was probably expecting that this, like, there's something, like, this is not going to go off. Right?
Yeah.
So if I would have hit end, it would have immediately got me out of my discomfort. And too often, that is what we as leaders are trying to do. We are trying to avoid discomfort at all cost. And the gift, when she said, you got a PowerPoint and a half, you got a presentation, you got a full training and a half, that half is the invitation to discomfort, when discomfort is what's required for you to take whatever it is that you're efforting to the next level. If I didn't get uncomfortable in doing that, it would show up again. It would show up again in another discomfort. Or another discomfort. And it just showed itself. And I was able to embrace the discomfort for what it was teaching me and really getting comfortable in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and I love that you say that too, because that was a conversation we had after this whole thing went down, after we had our conversation, and then you took that night, even into the next day, to really, you allowed yourself the space to really process through that. I mean, really process through that. And here's why, because you might be thinking, ladies, it was a PowerPoint presentation. Like, seriously, why are we having this conversation? Because legitimately, it's a PowerPoint presentation. The conversation we had after that was this understanding that that was simply the prick that opened the wound. Okay. So as leaders, as we're navigating through our businesses, we have the big stuff that comes up. Okay. You're going to have the thing that explodes right in front of you, right? You're going to have that key employee who leaves. and it's going to throw a wrench in everything. And you're going to feel like the rug just got completely pulled out from underneath you. And what do you do in that moment? You pick it up, you move on, you like, I am resilient, I'm going to make this happen, and you keep marching, right? And you fix the problem. That's what you do. You fix the problem. But we don't take the moments in that situation because now everything is like heightened, right? This is a serious problem. It needs serious action. There is no time to rest because this individual left, this machine broke down, this thing's happening, right? So we march forward and then we get and we fix the problem and we feel like, man, I did a really good job. I navigated that well, right?
Yep.
I navigated that well. Okay, well, fixing the problem, if you had re-recorded that, right? If you had re-recorded that and sent that out, you would have fixed the problem. You would have amplified the problem at the same point.
Yep.
Right? So when you have those big things, I know you're going to march forward. I know you're going to fix that problem. I know you're going to do it. Okay? But when we don't take the moments to figure out why it showed up to begin with, the webinar will take you out. The PowerPoint will take you out. The conversation with your partner will take you out. The conversation with your kid, you'll come home and you'll explode in these other moments. Those are the moments that then tip, right? That's the drop that overfills the bucket, so to speak. So I think there was so much beauty in that, Leah. There was so much beauty and opportunity for us to bring forward from that particular experience.
Yeah. I mean, we've all heard the saying, it's not the dish in the sink, but if we are not really doing our work, right? The work that we coach around on these podcasts and that we do in our training, we do in our coaching, and we do in our upcoming 8-week accelerator. If we are not doing that, what will happen is your life suffering will repeat itself. And you'll be like, this just always happens to me. No, it doesn't. What keeps happening is there is a lesson in all things. There is a lesson in the PowerPoint that you dismissed because you re-recorded. There is a lesson in, the cup in the sink that you just took care of and you put in the dishwasher. And there is a lesson in all things. And if we don't learn the lesson will repeat until we do. And the reason why this is so important to know, and it's why it's so important that we do our work, is because if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have a really big life. You want a big life. You've got big, impossible goals for yourself. And those lessons aren't just random, my beautiful friends. They are required for you to embrace, for you to understand, and for you to learn so that you navigate the next door that's going to open. Because until you learn that lesson, right? And the lesson for me was what I needed to navigate so that the next door that comes open, I'm ready. Will there be more lessons on my path? 1,000%. But my path doesn't move forward until those lessons are learned. Mm-hmm. And so when we try to fix them, as Carrie mentioned, by re-recording, fix, right? Hiring quickly. Like, let's just move on. Let's just suffocate on our emotions. Let's pretend that this isn't a big deal. And let's just fix it. And then label that resilient. One, right? Label that resilient. Okay. We miss out. We miss out on that very lesson that's required for that next level of growth, that next level of expansion, that opportunity to really expand into the capacity that our life is waiting for. Mm-hmm. And so we label it resilient, but it's really resistant. It's really resisting what is. And that's what I was trying to do when I immediately was like, it's okay. It's going to be okay. I'm going to fix this. We're just going to re-record it. That's what we're going to send out. Right. And to Carrie's wisdom, it was like, if you do that, and I want you to hear me, if we do that, when we try to fix and throw a Band-Aid over our own growth, our own expansiveness, we don't just do a disservice to ourselves, we do a disservice to everyone else. If I would have, right? And I'm so thankful for Carrie for calling me up on this. That's what we get to do. Um, if I would have just re-recorded and sent that out, I would have been reminding people that it's not okay to mess up, that it's not okay to make amends, that you're either perfect, you either go all in, or you just go all out. And without any sort of room or love for grace, without any sort of room or love for self-compassion. And a lot of the PowerPoint was on resiliency, being conscious, being a compassionate leader, and leading in that way. And what is the message that I would have sent out if I would have re-recorded it and made it be perfect? What kind of compassion am I showing myself? And what kind of, this is also very interesting. What kind of person must I have thought other people listening were if I didn't think that they would have the grace to understand that there's some tech problems sometimes when you do a webinar?
Mm-hmm.
I completely invalidated, and it's kind of for me right now to bring this forward. I completely invalidated that they had compassion, that they could have extended me grace, because I wouldn't have never given them the opportunity to do that. So,
Well, and in addition to that, what you showed by sending that email out afterwards and just putting that replay in the webinar, right? You showed what it means to share your experience and your compassion with yourself with the team, with everybody else involved. You showed vulnerability and you showed up as the most authentic version of who you are. And you never know, and I really want people to understand this, you never know who you may have just shifted, who you may have born into that resilient leader simply because they watched you do it.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's all it takes, is just for you to show up as compassionately, as vulnerably, and as authentically as you can for you, for somebody else to know it's available to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It is so powerful. It is so powerful, this understanding of self, this knowing of worth, this idea that you shared with me post webinar, that I'll share with each and every one of you, to know that you are just enough, just as you are, just in your essence. Nothing that you say, nothing that you show, no perfect PowerPoint animation and presentation. Just you. Just you. So hopefully that can be the lesson for any of you all that needed to hear that today. Any of y'all that are just navigating some mess in your life. What if we just welcomed it? What if we were just like, let's welcome the mess? Because in the mess, I promise you, there is a lesson, there is a message that is specifically for you to become a more expansive version of who it is that you have always been. That's what I would say.
I love it.
I love it.
I am so grateful for those who joined today, who were able to experience this lesson even further. So if this resonated with you, if it resonates with kind of your heart and you took something away from it, we would love for you to just share this out, share it with others, because I think it was one of the more brilliant opportunities, experiences that we've had to date to bring forward. So again, thank you, Leah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Until next time, have an amazing week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. You have been listening to Shift Happens. Discover the Leader Within with Leah Rolling and Carrie Kenzie. where we help you reconnect with your inner leader. Learn to trust your instincts and live with authenticity and confidence.
Tune in every Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time to Shift Happens on Transformation Talk Radio for more insights, inspiration, and actionable strategies to live and lead, not only in purpose, but on purpose. It is time to embrace a life and leadership style that is true to you. For more information, visit shift.life.